It's the Indiana Geeking Podcast with today's special guests, Bri, Jen, and Chris from Pitched. Yay!
All aboard the Botany Bay. 85 people floating through space. Checking the computer reveals that they're Superman. First there's Khan. He almost died. He may have fooled LT MacGyver's, but he's not a nice guy. Kirk and Spock and Bones try to research where these people have been. Turns out that they are relics from the eugenics wars. Superior in every way. 200 plus years on a sleeper ship, and now their Napoleonic leader is awake. They dressed up to welcome their guests, had a big dinner to disguise an inquest. Spock asked all the questions while Kirk sat back and listened in. He'd had enough, Khan proceeded his plan. Tried to take over the ship, every woman and man. Threatened for their loyalty or else he'd do the captain in. But Kirk proved more formidable than Khan thought he'd be. In an engineering, a battle ensued. Khan said, I have 5 times your strength, you're no match for me. But after an epic battle, Kirk ended the feud. Was marooned on SETI Alpha 5. It would be a challenge to keep he and his people alive. But when asked to serve in heaven, he said he'd rather rule in hell. It would be interesting, Captain, to return to that world in 100 years and learn what crop had sprung from that seed that you planted today. With communion sing, communion sing, communion sing, communion sing, communion sing, communion sing.
All right, so here we are, and we've got around the Geek Cave kitchen table, we've got a group of creators. Go ahead and introduce yourselves and go from there.
Cool. I am Bri Rudd.
I'm Ginger D.
And I'm Chris Ludden.
All right, and what are you here for today? Why are we, I mean, you're all my friends, but I mean, why are we here specifically talking in front of microphones?
We've got a brand spanking new book called Pitched that we are releasing actually this weekend, so... yeah, pretty exciting.
So what is Pitched?
It is over 100 pages of great movie ideas that are too awesome for Hollywood to make.
Too awesome for Hollywood to make. So these have definitely got to be better than The Dark Tower.
I haven't seen The Dark Tower. I apologize.
Yeah, you're not missing that much. So, but I know you three have been working on this for a little while. We talked about it a little bit at Indie PopCon. I've talked to you about it a little bit on DMs and stuff like that on Twitter. Mm-hmm. But how did Pitched get started?
There's this thing that periodically happens we already had a group chat just to like talk about like writing stuff. And periodically, especially Chris and I would essentially spitball pitch bad television shows and movies. I think the specific one that triggered Pitched as a thing was a CBS show of Sam Rockwell and Ezra Miller as modern low income, like shambling con men, and I forget who their dad was because their dad was more old school, and they're just like traveling the nation running like modern cons on people. And so at some point from there, we decided it'd be really funny to have a whole book of all kinds of just like random pitches like this. And yeah, it just sort of snowballed because I think we all got really excited about the idea.
Yeah. Would you say it was about October or November of last year when we officially decided this is what we're going to do?
Oh, gosh. I feel like it must have been October.
Yeah.
That feels right.
So it's probably close to a year.
Yeah.
It's probably close to a year of production.
Yeah.
A little less than a year because we finished production at the end of July.
Okay.
Well, kind of into August. There was still like some.
Not end of August because we were at Gen Con.
No, it's in the middle of August.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, it was done before Gen Con. That was the point.
That was the important thing.
So I was not giving up my Gen Con time.
So you started it around last October. That's a pretty quick turnaround time for a project like this. I mean, you've got Pitched, when you have a chance to take a look at it, it's a mixture of writing. It is a mixture of comics, artworks, illustrations, Mad Libs, a little bit of everything in there. So putting all that together, that's a pretty quick turnaround, isn't it?
Yeah, we're pretty ambitious.
Yeah.
It originally was supposed to come out for PopCon, and then we realized that wasn't ever going to happen.
Yeah.
So the entire summer was production.
Yeah, because we spent too long kind of playing in the space of like coming up with new ideas, because that part was just, I mean, the whole thing was fun, but that part was just like, oh,
yeah,
but we don't have this genre yet, and we'd all kind of like kick stuff around for an evening.
We have a spreadsheet, still do, about, I think that there are about 90 ideas that were in it, and what actually appears in the book, I believe, is about 75 of those ideas.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
one of the strengths and one of the reasons we were able to do it so fast was because each piece is like a little skit. So we didn't have to string together a
beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah, we didn't have to have a real complex plot. So we were sort of able to say like, well, whatever we get done by this time, we get done. So as we got into like later July and August, we just increased the pace of like, you know, could we get like one more idea into the book? You know, it's like if I work a little faster, stay up a little later or whatever, can I get like one more idea into the book?
Yeah, we did I know we did at one point sort of a check-in where it's like looking to see where we might be lacking balance-wise. Because I know there was a last round of, okay, well, wait, so if we can figure out like one more like sci-fi drama, and we don't need any more romance, but if we could have like an action one, and sort of ran with that, because like that was our main thing, was keeping it balanced in terms of genres, and then like you said, we do have different formats, so making sure that, you know, we kind of, and that especially was important to do when we laid out the order, that like it all kind of transitions repeatedly, so you don't have like 5 comics that you almost don't realize are separate comics, and then like a big mountain of text things that's all kind of interspersed.
One of the things that I remember talking to you, I can't remember, it's like at PopCon, occasionally Chris and Jen, you're at the table, occasionally Bri and Chris, you're at the table, so I can't remember who I talked to on this, but you said part of the issue and part of why you had to get it out so quick was because some of these insane, awesome ideas were actually things that started getting pushed through and becoming actual movies or actual television shows. Do you have any specific examples of those?
I guess like my favorite example is, I don't want to give too much away because it'll give away the joke a little bit, but we have one thing that's kind of a kind of a Fast and Furious parody. And it kind of, the joke is just how they keep getting bigger and bigger, and like how you add more characters and everything like that. And so it's kind of a multi-page thing, and it kind of builds up to this climax of something that I thought was just crazy.
Can they go?
Yeah, I thought it was crazy. And then like probably in end of July or early August.
Weeks after.
No, it was long. It was
a couple of weeks after you had drawn it.
It was all complete. It was ready.
Yeah, we were closed down. I want to say it was like mid to late July.
Yeah.
Well, actually, if we were talking about it at PopCon, I guess it must have been mid to late June.
Yeah. And then like, so basically to write this thing that they're like, yeah, this is crazy. This is nuts. This like pushes it to the extreme. And then we like saw this article that said, no, they're actually thinking about doing this crazy thing that you got. Which if I say it, it'll
then what's the name of that new Netflix series? This one didn't actually make it into the book, but it was supposed to be a cop drama that was a fantasy.
Yeah, the like fantasy cop drama.
Now that's actually a thing that's going to be on Netflix.
We had it. Yeah, we had an idea where we have two writers, and one of them has half of a fantasy epic written, and one of them has half of a cop drama written. And so they both lose funding. So they're just like, because it wasn't even just written, it was half shot. Yeah, that was it.
And so they're both just intercutting their movies to try and like use scrap footage to make a movie. And we never got around to finalizing it. And then that awful like cops, but also like their supernatural stuff there.
It's like Will Smith and a orc as cops on...
I'm feeling kind of shame over here because I'm really psyched about that.
What's it called? I don't remember.
I can't remember. Okay. It's like something fire related.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll defy expectations and be wonderful.
It could be lovely.
We've only seen the trailer.
That is my Christmas gift. That is what's going to be my Christmas miracle. Is that Netflix film?
Honestly, even though we say this in the book, there's a few things in the book that we would love to see.
Oh yeah, that we would watch. We don't
think that they would be the best thing ever made, but it would be so entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things in that book where I'm like, if it came out as an actual movie, I'd watch it. I'd probably love it. And when I told people, I'm like, look, I'm not sorry. I own The Losers on DVD. Yeah. I know who I am.
We like a lot
I've rented
of
Now
stuff.
You See Me like 3 times. Like some of this stuff I would watch.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked about this before. The Losers is one of the best A-Team pieces out there lately. That did A-Team better than the A-Team did.
I don't think we have talked about it because I don't know anything about the A-Team, so I would not have been able to piss. I've never, not the remake, I know Mr. T was there, and I think there was a guy named Face.
You're correct on both counts.
Yes.
You are an A-Team expert.
Also a van. Boom. I know all the things.
Well, that's a nice segue into the next question, though. I know asking a creator what their favorite piece is sometimes asking them to choose their favorite child, but still, what piece? I know you each had different things, which, by the way, read all the way through the end. The credits are fantastic. What was your favorite piece that you worked on?
I'm like in the middle of changing my mind, so I don't want to go first.
Well, I'll go ahead and say it. I've got a series of comics in there called Commander and Beef. Yes. And the thing that I like about it is that they actually take place in 3 different time periods. One's in the 50s, one's in the 80s, and one's in the aughts. And it's the interpretation of what the Commander in Beef is, but the concept is all the same, is that a cattle farmer gets hired to be the president, or gets elected president of the United States, so he's the Commander of Beef. And so, without giving it all away, you'll just have to imagine how that would be reinterpreted in the aughts. It's my favorite part.
My favorite, I think, actually uses a character that is appearing courtesy of Chris and Ginger from their Brothers Grant universe.
My sweet baby.
Dear, darling, self-important Keegan. And we, at some point really early on, built this like sort of beautifully tragic arc for him. But the 2 pieces in that I wrote, one is like this magazine feature, and it's really like, really just, the author is just so condescending, and they're just both just loving how intellectual they feel about themselves. But the second script, he's pitching a movie and he's like trying to like make it sound like it's very artful, but he really has to pitch this like, like not another teen movie road trip level flick. And I was so proud of the punchline and where that joke lands that when I finished it, I printed it out and taped it to my boyfriend's office door with no explanation. I didn't tell him I was doing this. I didn't tell him what it was. Like, he knew I was working on the book, but I just taped it to his door one morning before I left for work. And I'm just like, he needs to read this. The world needs to read this. This is good. So yeah, I forget what the movie is called, but yeah, the second of the Keegan features. I don't think it has a name.
I think we just called it Artsy Movie or something.
Yeah, I
like
think
that.
in the credits, I think it's just the Keegan trilogy.
Yeah, I think that probably is one of the strongest pieces in the book, especially because like it made me so uncomfortable that I had come a couple of times to Bri and said, "Are we sure we can put this joke in the book because we're going for PG-13 here?"
It was perfectly PG-13.
Yeah, that makes it the strongest. That's the strongest joke in the book.
and then like I loved it from script level, and then Chris did the art because it's a character that he draws, and the way he laid it out art wise is freaking fantastic. There's just oh god, so it's my favorite.
The handful of Brothers Grant fans that there may be out there, yes, Keegan is in this, and Pitch does take place in the same world.
I think you decided that more or less like this is his secret backstory.
Yeah. This is why he's able to be a snobby highfalutin literature writer in the Midwest.
Now I feel horrible because you didn't give me this warning, so I didn't brush up. I haven't read those in like 3 years.
I know. Yeah, no, that's fine.
He's like a minor character. Well, he's a minor character.
He's basically Kevin's antagonist.
Yeah.
Whenever he shows up, he's just showing up to insult him.
He's a lot of
He pops up in the coffee shop to be mean and judgmental.
See, I'm vaguely remembering this. That's why I'm feeling bad.
It's been years since we wrote a Brothers Grant story, so that's okay if you haven't read it. It's not, no judgment at all. So yeah, my favorite, I don't know, there's a lot of them in the book that I like, and I was saying before the podcast, I've deliberately not gone back and read it because I want some distance from it before I read through it. And honestly, like, there were so many times when we were reviewing scripts, and I just was like laughing just at the script level, like of, like reviewing something that Bri or Ginger wrote and just chuckling. And so it's hard to choose. I'm going to go with Baby with a Gun.
Yes.
It's a series of...
That's really all you need to know.
Yeah, that's
a Baby with a Gun. Congress passed the law. Now he's Baby with a Gun. And that's all you really need to know. There's four different... It's a series of movies. There's 4 of them. They get progressively stranger.
Comics, but then the 4th one is not a comic.
Do we only have... No, we have 4. Okay. There's 4. Yeah.
Then there's a 5th one that's not a comic.
Yeah.
Okay.
4 comics and then like a text conversation, because that's one of the formats we have is text conversations between various producers and their assistants or writers and their agents, that sort of thing.
The text conversation was excellent, by the way.
Thanks.
Now, I know there was a couple, and I'm going to try not to give away anything because we don't want to spoil, because, hopefully people are listening to this on their way to SPX, Small Press Expo. So hopefully folks will be listening to that, and we don't want to give anything away in the book. But Bri, you did this entire series of romance films.
Oh, yeah.
And those, especially how you laid those out, beautiful, that dead on.
I think that was actually like one of the rom-comics, I think were one of our first concepts.
Yeah.
I did the art on all of them. One of them, though, one of my favorites of them, it's called Snowy Christmas, and I'm not going to say anything about it, but Ginger wrote that one, and there's a line in there that made me laugh every time I saw it. But yeah, it was just sort of a joke on the fact that, like, and I love rom-coms, again, some of the stuff we love, but it's all just the same pattern ported onto a different set of circumstances. Yeah.
It was beautiful. Oh, and I'm sorry, the last line in Love on the Line also got me.
Yeah.
That's the one that really tickled me. I mean, like, got the weird looks on the airplane as I almost, shoot orange juice out my nose seeing that one. So
thank you.
And what's funny is I wrote my notes down in the order that everybody's sitting across from me at the table.
Nice.
That's actually kind of cool. Ginger, speaking of those text conversations, American Gothic was really...
I appreciate that. Actually, I think it very nearly was No, it wasn't. We actually had this conversation over DM since the three of us are actually in like a writing DM chat that we've created for each other. And I think it was nearly beat for beat the same conversation copy pasted.
And the other one I had written down was the Commander and Beef series. That was
I love Commander and Beef.
That was very good. And Chris, man, like you said, the sound and the fury. That series right there, and I'm not going to give away the running joke or anything like that, but I saw that and I immediately knew that was you guys. Even if I hadn't seen your name on the book, I just know your love for that film series.
I feel like a Johnny come lately to that series because we didn't really get on board until we saw the trailer for Fast and Furious 7. And
it was really Jason Statham that sold us.
Yeah, we love Jason.
Statham is going to be in the movies too.
Oh man, that's a spoiler.
It's not really.
It kind of is because when he shows up. Okay, you're right. But when he shows up,
about to spoil
awesome.
It if you keep talking.
I'm just saying when he shows up, it's awesome.
I'm so delighted. In advance.
That look of utmost joy on Bri's face, though, that was worth the spoiler. I mean, I would because I couldn't see the look on her face when he actually showed up on screen.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I was at least here for that.
Oh yeah, she hasn't seen it yet. Yeah, that's also a fun thing that we're doing with a few of our friends with Bri and the Strolls is that I'm having them come over to the house the first Wednesday every month to watch these films.
Yeah, this is Ginger.
Are they having fun? I don't know.
This is the second watch through for Ginger and I, and those films are just like awesome and terrible and like so fun, and like it's really actually cool. Like after watching through it a second time, it's cool to see like how you see the ways they tried to stick everything together. I think a lot more clearly than the first time. After we saw the Fast and Furious 7 trailer, we went out and like or was it called F7? I don't remember.
I just remember that it had cars jumping from buildings and Jason Statham, and we both said, "Well, we love transporters, so we're in."
Yeah, so we watched that, and then we went and bought like the box set of like all 6 other movies and watched through all of those. So like, I mean, I think that's a good example of like, you know, like Bri's pointed out, there's, you know, it's like we love these movies.
We love dumb movies.
This book isn't really coming from a place of hatred. It's coming from a more of a place of like
of love
and
appreciation.
And, you know, sometimes criticism, but like a lot of times just like this would be something cool that I'd like to see.
Yeah.
So will you actually contribute to the Kickstarters on those ones that you have in the books?
I don't know about that. We'll have to see. Some of them I would, some of them not so much.
I think everybody would love to see the Bacon remade.
Okay, the Bakery is funny because that is nearly verbatim a dream that Ginger had, and then
that's a good story.
Yeah, and then like she told us this,
and it
dream.
had to twist.
She told us this dream on Twitter.
Yeah, well,
and we're just like
first the concept. Yeah, the concept was I want a Kickstarter to literally make my dreams come true. And I'm going to hire, or it's like, I'm not just going to hire a lookalike for my teacher. I'm going to go get my teacher and put her in this film. And that's kind of how the bakery came out from there. And I don't think that I would be opposed if we would like to just ruin one, well, not ruin, if we would like to spoil one of them just so that way we can give people a taste.
Okay. Which one do you want to
That's up to you.
I kind of think that we've been using Get Cancer as the ads anyway. So I think if we were to describe what Get Cancer was on this podcast, it wouldn't really, I mean, it would just give you enough of a taste to decide whether or not this book is for you.
You could also just read some of the capsule review ones. I don't know which one. I don't know which one would read better.
No, I'm on a podcast. I'm leaning toward Get Cancer still.
Okay.
And I want Chris to read it in his announcer voice.
Oh boy, put me on the spot.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have not practiced an announcer voice.
Take a big drink.
Prepare yourself, prepare your spirit, ready your mind.
Vic Parker explodes on screen as Vic Stone, a one-man wrecking crew living each moment like it's his last. When the U.S. president contracts a brain tumor, Vic takes charge in a search and destroy mission into the head of state. Armed with a megaton of medical-grade weapons, Stone's squad tears apart terrorist cells and the president's immune system in one special effects packed scene after another. But there's just one catch. Dr. Fox Simmons, a red-hot cancer doctor, is in command. Their chemistry is real, but whose side is she on? And which of Stone's men is a spy? And what about Stone's own battle with stage 4 melanoma? One thing's for sure. Vic's going to get cancer or die trying.
I forgot about Into the Head of State.
Yes.
Oh, God.
Don't forget, Chris, his MD stands for most deadly.
Yes.
But I mean, that's one really cool thing about the book is I think you had said something that made me think it's almost like Saturday Night Live. It's sketch comedy. It's one sketch after another, some tie in together, some call back to others. But all together, it works very, very cool. It works very well.
Thank you.
Now, I know you all say you also you really like cheesy movies. So we're going to go off script for a second. I'm going to put you on the spot. What's your favorite cheesy movie?
Got so many. But I'm going to stick with the Transporter 2 for right now because that's the freshest thing in my mind right this second.
I still haven't seen any of those.
Maybe that's what we're doing after Fast and Furious.
It might be a little hard for me to clear a whole evening, but we'll try.
That's fine.
Because by that point we'll be in January, and so life's going to be real different. Because for me, Jason Statham, it's like the Guy Ritchie movies is why I got excited. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen all of his ridiculous action stuff.
Transporter 1 especially, too. Transporter 2 especially is just top notch.
So
awesome. 3's not great, but whatever.
Has that one cool scene.
Have you seen Crank?
Mm-mm.
Crank's pretty, I think.
That the one he has to keep shocking himself?
Yeah.
I haven't seen Crank 2. I heard that one's even crazier, and I still haven't seen it yet. Do you have one?
Like I said, I can watch the crap out of The Losers. I have a weird thing for D2, The Mighty Ducks. I have been known to slow quack at people, mostly because it's really funny to watch someone get lightly disconcerted by it, but I seriously love that movie. Likewise, Sister Act 2. That movie is my freaking jam. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and I know that they're not quality films. I do not care. I genuinely and sincerely love them.
Also, I love how you got me into Christmas romances.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And we did make sure to put some Christmas romances in this book.
Yeah, Ginger and I both have a specific love for it's not the super dramatic ones where there's always someone who is taking over their dad's store and now they're gonna lose it because
we don't
something.
Care about that.
No, those are awful. It's the ones that are essentially rom-coms that shoved 8 Christmas trees in the background and called itself a Christmas movie. They're the ones that come on Freeform every year, not the Hallmark stuff. I'm looking for something with a Jenny McCarthy, a Tori Spelling. That's how you know, okay, I'm in the right place.
This is what they use to fill the time between Harry Potter marathons?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to
for mom.
Yeah. I know I'm forgetting. I feel like there's something that I'm forgetting that's cheesier than this, but I'm going to go with Zardoz because that's a movie that Ginger and I watched that for the first time. We're this movie is dumb and really weird and kind of gross. And then we've seen it probably 3 or 4 times since then. And we're at the
time
point.
We're this is brilliant.
Yeah. Each time
this
it's
is a beautiful film.
At this point, on watch 4, we're this is secretly genius. There's a lot going on here. It's just so weird and it's so out there that it's buried under so many weird layers of Sean Connery dressed in a red diaper and with a ponytail that you don't see all the brilliant stuff that's going on. It's really, I don't know. It's something else.
It's a train wreck of a beautiful film.
Yeah.
I need to sit you two down with a Cult Cinema Cavalcade because they just reviewed that in the past month, and I can tell you right now, I did not hear any of that.
Oh man,
in their review.
But it's the thing, if you'd set me down the first time, I just would have just been it's giant head,
terrible
guns
film.
are guns are good, evil.
PG-13.
Well, I don't know.
It's a biological word.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. You can edit that out if you want, or whatever. But giant head spewing guns and Sean, like I said, Sean Connery in a diaper and just so much weird stuff that
and also Beethoven.
Yeah, Beethoven at the end. It's like I wouldn't have had like anything but just like weirdness and like what were they thinking? But
And
like,
drawn on facial hair, right? Isn't that part of it too?
yeah. Zardoz, the guy who plays Zardoz, like has drawn on facial hair.
Oh yeah, he's okay.
The floating head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to watch it again. It's like if they wanted to talk about it, I have to like watch it again and like write down like this and this and this and this and this. And if you ever get a chance to watch the director's commentary of John Borman, that's a lot of fun.
All right, so now you've got this done. We have copies here at the table to refer to. You're going to have them for sale at SPX this weekend. What else are you three bouncing around? What else is coming down the pike? Any ideas?
Well, I'll be the one tabling it at SPX. So, hi, if you find yourself in Bethesda, Maryland, table W89, hit me up. But I'm also going to have the other book that I put together this year, which is a strip collection of stuff ranging from like, it's got to be, I guess, mid 2014 to, I think a couple of them are actually from early this year. It's called Perfectly Normal Behavior. The comic right inside the front cover that explains why it's called Perfectly Normal Behavior is dark, and yet I love it. So I'm really proud of that. It took a lot of hustle, and it's autobiographical stuff. I find it very honest, and also there's a very easy pie recipe in there, so like bonus. And then after that this year, I'm on pause for a little bit. I'm on hiatus. But that's it for me.
Man, we're doing so much stuff. Who knows what we're going to do?
Do you want me to talk about it?
Yeah, how about if you get us started?
Are you done? Okay,
and
so
I don't think we've introduced ourselves as a husband-wife team here, so we actually operate as Chris and Jen.
Yeah, so oftentimes,
our
most of
projects
the
are the
time,
same.
most of the time, I would say, yeah. So one project that we had ongoing before pitch start, and we had to kind of pause because we were really excited about pitch, and it needed to happen this year.
By SPX.
Yeah, by SPX.
In 2017, not 2015.
It's a book called Dexter's Digs. We've done 2 12-page stories for that, and we're working on a graphic novel length version of that. It's going to be 4 of the 12-page stories, possibly 5, but we're shooting for 4 first. And then wrapping around those 4 stories is going to be a larger
of Dexter's Digs,
Yeah.
because the conceit of the whole comic is that it's a dead TV show and that it's been cobbled together from people who had loved it before, including Mr. Keegan, who we love.
Yes.
He will be featured in this as well.
So that'll be like our big one. We're kind of hoping to. That's going to be sort of like a bigger production than pitched, only in that like it's going to be in full color versus black and white, which means you need more money to print it. So we're trying to figure out like how we're going to fund that exactly. We're leaning towards Kickstarter. We've never done that before. That's kind of the direction we're leaning right now. But we want to be able to like get a really good color printing of that book. So, did you have anything else?
You know, we didn't discuss about what Dexter's Digs was about. We just said.
Oh man, you're right. Okay. Dexter's Digs is about the world's foremost archaeologist. He is a little dachshund that goes around with his owner, Jason Clark, who is an actual archaeologist. Dexter digs up treasures. Dr. Clark tells you a little bit about the actual history of them. And then Dexter tells you about the real secret history that they don't want you to know, which is always crazy and like giant robots and that sort of thing. So that's what the book is about. And it's just like a goofy all ages book that's really focused on humor with a touch of archaeology and history
and actual facts. Well, actual facts as we currently understand them, because the thing with archaeology is that it's always changing and
as
being
they
updated.
learn more. That's one of the things that we find fascinating. Just about like that's one of the things that Dexter's is about, is just like how knowledge changes and how like, you know, we say we know things, but really it turns out in a decade we figure out like, no, we were totally wrong about that because whatever, we dug up something new or we did some different research or something, but we keep acting like we know everything no matter how many times we prove ourselves wrong.
And now wasn't Dexter's Digs part of a cable or a public access channel?
It's actually public broadcasting.
Public broadcasting, that was it.
That's Ginger and I have sort of a ongoing quasi project called Harrison Public Broadcasting. It's something it's very slipshod, and we just kind of like add to it as we go. It's very cut and paste. Right now, there's a YouTube channel out there. If you look up Harrison Public Broadcasting, you'll see some awkward videos.
No, they're beautiful videos.
Yeah.
They are delightful.
It's delightful videos.
It's the giant meta umbrella that covers all of you guys' work.
Yeah, because inevitably nearly everything that we do takes place in the same world of Harrison Public Broadcasting.
We can't resist tying things back to the other projects that we worked on.
We like it.
Oh yeah,
fun.
and maybe eventually we'll get back to doing more Brothers Grant. I'll plug our website. I'll plug that website real quick. The brothersgrant.com is a webcomic that we did for a few years and then has kind of been on hiatus for a few years, but we plan on getting back to it. It's kind of was our first project, and it's been one that we've
very near and dear to me.
Yeah, and it's taken some time to kind of figure out where we want to take it from where we left it.
Well, as we get ready to wrap up, there's one question I've been liking to ask people lately. And, because this is the Indiana Geeking podcast, part of Geeking in Indiana, what do you enjoy about being a geek here in Indiana?
Well, I have access to so many friends because I'm here.
Yeah, I mean, same here. Like, basically most of the stuff I do now, I wouldn't be doing if I hadn't just up and gone to 24-hour comic day and then up and joined IWG. I actually would not know Jeff. So
your whole life is different now.
Yeah.
Did you know him before that 24-hour comic day?
We'd met a few times, but not really. I don't think I literally didn't know his name. Because he used to work at the comic shop, but we never talked. So yeah, we would not be hanging out if I didn't go there and then start making comics. It was still another year and a half after that, I think, almost 2 years before we started hanging out. So I wouldn't have a tiny person kicking my bladder right now if I didn't.
Thanks, Jeff.
Specifically here.
Gosh.
Good going, Jeff.
But yeah, so I think that's the main thing for me is the people.
Yeah, I mean, I'd echo that. We've with IWG and shows like Independent Show, with John Graham running that. We've just, I don't know. We've been able to meet a lot of interesting, motivated creators, and a lot of people who are like you who are supporting that whole community. Whether it's through writing about it or doing a con or that kind of thing. And I think what's been especially exciting in addition to that is, in the last 3 or 4 years, just seeing stuff start to kind of take off, kind of go from where, we had our groups that we ran around with or whatever, but with the number of shows that have popped up. And I mean, and I say pop up, and I know that all those shows took a considerable amount of planning and, in some cases, a lot of money and organization. But to see all that stuff just kind of come from seemingly nowhere,
maybe bearing fruit. They were planted a while.
Yeah. That's really exciting. And I mean, I would hope, and when we see friends that we know who are starting to get, they're getting published. You've got Jackie, and you've got Lee and Ed, and more people who are just their careers are kind of growing in ways I think that they've worked hard to get to. So I think all that stuff is just really exciting to see.
There's definitely a lot of talent here, and we can afford to do these things living in Indiana.
Yeah.
Yes.
The cost of living, that's my favorite thing in Indiana.
That's what I have to keep telling myself. I'm not from Indiana.
No, but really, where are you from originally?
Nobody knows. I'm a mystery child.
I'm sorry, that is such
It's
an
cool.
inside joke. I'm so sorry.
I'm Asian. Don't tell anybody. I broke Bri. It's my goal. It's my goal once a month to break Bri.
Whisper. It was the hands on the side of the microphone. That's what did it. The gentle caressing whisper.
Oh man, I love you guys. I love you guys.
We love you too, Tony. And don't edit us saying that we love you out. Because the world needs to know.
Yeah.
And one thing I do want to point out, I think all three of you mentioned IWG. That's the Indie Webcomics group.
Yes, yes, we probably should spell it out.
Yeah.
IndieWebcomics.com? I don't remember.
It's on Meetup. If you go on Meetup and search Indie Webcomics group, you
can find
it.
us.
Or you could look at the notes in the blog
hang.
post attached to this episode, where I'll put a link.
That's a fantastic idea.
Along with links to everything else we talk about, including this fine book, which is the reason we're sitting here this evening.
We forgot to mention, you can get this on
It's
Amazon.
available on Amazon.
Maybe you should use Tony's Amazon link to find it.
Definitely should use that.
Oh, so because I felt it was going to be kind of self-serving if I used an affiliate link.
Yeah, we don't have one.
Hashtag ad.
Make sure to type in one of our names with that, because there is like some sort of like romance or erotica book that's called Pitched, and you don't want to get that.
I mean,
this.
if
I've
you
already
get
looked.
it and it's good, let us know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't.
Chris,
I'll see.
Chris doesn't want to know, but
Is
the
it
girls
available
wanna
on
know.
Kindle Fire?
I don't know.
Because I have the app. I don't have the actual ebook. That's expensive. But and speaking of which, one last thing: are you planning on making this digitally available, or is it just a hard copy right now?
Digital, yes. We just haven't figured that part out.
Yeah, we just
yet.
haven't. Sometimes your editor underestimates how much time she needs for other things, and sometimes other outside things in her life get really time consuming, and so sometimes she does not have time to figure out the KDP platform and just has to be happy with having physical books for a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's coming.
This is fair.
Priority was SPX.
Yeah,
And once that's over with, we'll figure out.
We got to
digital.
figure out the whole separate thing for that. So
All right. Well, seriously, you three, thank you so much for coming over to the Geek Cave this evening to talk about this. Why don't you go ahead just one more time, do a run around the table, tell us who you are, and tell us where we can find you online. Anything you want to promote.
Okay.
I am Bri Rudd. You can find me on Twitter as @OhNoBri. I'm sporadically present. My website is brirudd.com. That's BRIRUDD.com. You can find my work there, whatever it is that I decide to take on next after this, and links to buy Pitched and Perfectly Normal Behavior and my previous minis too.
I'm Ginger D, and you can find me on Twitter at HeyGingerD, and that is HeyGingerdee. And my website is chrisandjen.com. I'll allow Chris to spell that.
Everybody gets to spell a thing.
And I am Chris Ludden. You can find me at Mr. Ludden on Twitter. That's MisterLudden. And then our website is chrisandjen.com, ChrisAndGin.com.
And could you use the phonetic alphabet just to make sure everybody gets that? Okay.
I'm not good at that.
The way you looked at me for a second was like, Tony, are you serious? Is this a podcast thing? Is this?
I could come
wait.
up with words.
I'm trying to think if that gets redundant. What's the G in the phonetic alphabet?
I can't remember.
Part of me thought it was gin.
It's like Alpha, Beta, Charlie,
Wait,
Delta, Epsilon,
That was
Foxtrot.
Echo.
Echo, sorry. Echo,
yeah,
Foxtrot.
which I only know because freaking Dollhouse.
So what is G then?
I don't know. Part of me thought it was gin, but I could be wrong.
Gin sounds like it could be a J.
Someone's holding
I think it's
it in their
Gamma.
hand to tweet.
Gamma?
I mean, that's the Greek alphabet. I can do the Greek alphabet top to bottom.
I don't know what they're talking about. I'm Asian.
Like the army one.
Gosh darn. That's G in the phonetic Alpha, Tango, Foxtrot, gosh darn.
At my call center job, I used to have it on the back of my cubicle, but that's why I didn't have to remember it. It was on my cubicle. So
we're talking about like the military one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You can tell none of us have been in the military.
Like I said, what I remember for
George.
sure.
It could be George. That could also be a J.
no, it wouldn't.
Who spells George with a J?
I'm just saying, like, if you like, the point of the alphabet is that like if people are shouting at you over the radio, it's like a hard sound.
The word, but that's a very M as in Mancy thing to say. Then
M as in Mancy.
You know, from like season 1 of Archer, he's like telling them the bomb disarm code, and like N as in Nancy. He's like, yes, and the explosive like I said M as in Mancy. It's like, who says Nancy? What is that?
The number of times I got Z like xylophone.
What?
Rough. I literally, though, for the most part, what I know, I only know because of this season, 1 1/3 seasons of Dollhouse that I made it through. After that, I was like, I think I had enough. I was reluctantly present in the first place. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and leave.
My shameful secret is I've watched it. I watched the entire series twice.
Twice.
I mean, it is
Twice.
It is bad, but it's bad in this way that, like, for some reason, like, I'm just like, there's all this like really, really bad stuff, and I have to just like push that away. And then there's like these little gems that I'm like, oh.
Well, there's like a couple really good moments, and then there's a whole bunch of actors that they're like,
you realize
get 2 minutes.
that especially after the bacon grease hands in the hair. And then with this, Ginger, I do have the name of a good divorce lawyer here in Indiana.
Okay.
It's not a good series.
You could cut 2 seasons into a trailer for a very compelling show. But that's because they have because there's a couple people in there that are skilled.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That dude. That the dark haired dude who like, he's one of the dolls who's like got dark hair.
Oh yeah, and then he has a teeny tiny role in Avengers.
Like
yeah.
He should be in more stuff.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Amy Acker's really good. The guy who plays the computer guy is actually pretty good. I mean, his character's a creepster, but he's pretty good. Freaking Alan Tudyk shows up, and then, which I felt like it was a weird place to put him in that role because like everyone else is like 22 and straight out of like Instagram modeling school, and then there's Alan Tudyk who is not, and I say that with love because I adore him, but like he's really good.
The thing I love about that show,
it's like Eliza Dushku all day. I'm like, sure, if we have to.
Is like it's like, oh, we're gonna fight to save the world from ending, and they don't. The world ends, and you jump forward. I like that. See, like those are the things that I like, and then there's all this grossness that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
With like.
It's the worst kind of grossness too, because it's like, no, we're just explaining how gross other dudes are, so it's fine. So when we do this upskirt shot, we're making a social point.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like an intellectual thinking man's upskirt. I'm like, that's not how it works, buddy.
It's. I mean, and all that stuff is like terrible. I mean, like I'm not excusing that stuff. There's just like little gems in this like pile of garbage.
The Diamond in the Rough. I watched Aladdin like 4 times with Jeff's younger daughter last weekend. Oh, though, by the way, now I do want to start a band called the Thinking Man's Upskirt who's ready to learn an instrument.
Mandolin.
I'm still learning mandolin. And hey, you want to join our band, Tony, with the banjo?
The fingers are too short for the banjo.
No.
I cannot properly reach around and hit all the strings on the banjo without hitting other strings. But I'm going to get new pads on my tenor sax.
All right. So saxophone and mandolin.
I was working on flute. My schedule for the year got disrupted. Next year, maybe I'll play it in like 5-minute bursts. It's like, you're awake and quiet. Time to practice. Wait, are you falling asleep? Are you falling asleep? Silence, everyone. The infant rests.
This is how it works. All right. Well, once again, thank you all for joining me this evening. Folks, take a look at the blog post, do a search for Pitched, look for Ginger D, look for Chris Ludden, look for Bri Rudd. Did you get Bri's author page set up yet on Amazon?
Yes.
Yeah, I have one.
Okay.
It has both of my books on it because they're actually both on there.
Oh, beautiful.
You can find everything now.
So both those books will be in the blog posts attached to this episode.
Cool.
But thank you all. And once again, hey, Bri, welcome back for even just an episode to the podcast. So
good to be back.
But thank you all, and we'll catch you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Tickets are on sale now for the 4th annual Shocktober in Irvington, presented by the Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Join the hosts of the Obsessive Viewer on October 6th, 2017 at the Irving Theater for a one-night event screening of short horror films, including the premiere screenings of the latest film in J.P. Leck's cross-medium Elsewhere World universe, the latest film from Snapshot Productions, and much more. Come celebrate the horror genre in the historic Irvington area and meet the filmmakers with live Q&As after each screening. You can also win DVDs and Blu-rays, movie-related party games, horror-themed Funko Pop figures, gift cards to Irvington businesses, and so much more. Tickets are on sale now at shocktoberinirvington.com. All proceeds go directly to the Irvington Historical Society. And whether at the Irving Theater or in your nightmares, we will be seeing you on the 6th of October.
I'd like to thank everybody for listening to this episode of the Indiana Geeking Podcast. You can find the blog post for this episode, as well as information like Hoosier convention listings, past podcast episodes, and more at indianageeking.com. If you like what I'm doing, there are ways you can help. First, you can make sure you subscribe through Apple Podcasts, Google Music, Stitcher, or whatever your preferred podcatcher is. Also, if your method allows it, I'd love it if you left me a rating and a review. Good or bad, it lets me know how I'm doing. If you'd like to help financially, you can go check out the Support Geeking If you'd like to help financially, you can go check out the Support Geeking in Indiana link posted at the side of the blog, where you can learn about how to support geeking by shopping through Amazon, making a one-time donation, making a monthly donation through Patreon, or even buying Indiana Geeking merchandise through the shop link. Before we go, I'd like to give a huge thanks to my $5 and above patrons for supporting the blog and podcast. One of their perks is a shout out on the cast, and I'm more than happy to give love to Becca, Claire, Kayla, Mal, Michael, Spencer, Tommy, and Tyler for their support. In addition, if the promo for Shocktober in Irvington sounds cool, then make sure to use the code GEEKING to get $1 off your ticket. Last but not least, I want to give a huge thanks to the local band's 5-Year Mission and the Shakeups for the music used in this episode. You can find track info on the blog post and find out more about the bands at 5yearmission.net and theshakeups.net accordingly. I'll see you. Thank you all for listening and your support. I'll see you next time, and always remember, live long and prosper, may the force be with you, may all your hits be crits, and as always, be excellent to each other.
Don't watch Dollhouse.
Love yourself.